Yes, there it is, that music. It must mean that it's city business time. Well, you're right. If you're just tuning in, we have Michael Halley live in the studio, our fourth city council ward person, and we have another city business all lined up for you. As a matter of fact, it's not just any old city business. It's our final city business of this year. So, Michael, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here. So, yeah, this is
Make sure you turn your cell phone off before you come in, all right?
I did.
Oh, very good. So, yeah, what do we have on the docket for this this session?
All right. Well, this is our only December meeting. It's common for the council to just do one meeting in December, so we chose the third Thursday instead of the second or fourth as we usually do. So this is a review of the December 16th regular city council meeting, the final meeting of 2013. Actually, it was kind of a light agenda.
A light agenda?
Yeah.
Well, it's the time of the year to be light and merry.
Exactly. So in our consent agenda, we always approve the minutes of the prior meeting, and more hiring of lifeguards at the Park and Rec. They're always hiring lifeguards these days. Approval of some liquor license at some local establishments, including Flamingo Lanes, because there's nothing more fun than having a brewski while bowling. Localize, Isla, and La Hacienda. So the only reason I mention that is because as part of the underage alcohol task force, we approve these unless they've had a violation of selling to underage, and then we have a new policy of requiring businesses to do a little training for their employees to make sure they know how to read the ID. I found out that apparently you need to check it for expiration. That's part of checking an ID that some people don't know. It's not just verifying the age. You have to make sure the ID is still valid. So little things like that, but we are getting better. The first task force sting, a bunch of the local establishments failed and sold to somebody. And the thing is, I believe the person doesn't look underage. It's just that expiration on the ID. And the next time, much fewer people allowed that person to get alcohol. All right, we had one public forum appearance, and that was from our friend Dan Miller. He's I think he's the director of the Jefferson County Environmental Health Department. And every December he comes and talks to the council about radon awareness. So radon is a radioactive gas that's naturally occurring. It's the breakdown of uranium in soil. Apparently Iowa has relatively high rate of radon. It's invisible, odorless.
Did you say high rate or irate?
High.
High rate,
But
yes.
it's enough to make you irate.
But it's also invisible, isn't it?
It's invisible. It's odorless. You just don't know it's there. But it's very harmful to the body, to the lungs. It's as equivalent if you've got radon in certain quantities over the limit that the EPA sets as safe, it's the equivalent of smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. So the council and the mayor always proclaim January as Radon Action Awareness Month. People to get tests. Some tests are provided for free from grant funds. The city is considering either getting some or making them available for purchase at City Hall for that month. Just really encourage people to test their homes. It seeps through cracks in the foundation or slabs or basements. And if you're tested and you're okay, good to go. If you're tested and you're over the limit, there are mitigation systems that pull that air outside the house, keep you safe.
Now, are there any statistics on what you have found from these tests in the past?
Yeah, about half the homes in Fairfield are above EPA recommended levels. So
it's
50%.
Estimated that half the homes are above. How many have been tested?
Last year they did about 100 or somewhere around that. And yeah, about half of them. Well, I think about 80 some were in city limits. And then about 40 some had levels tested that were higher than the EPA recommended.
So in other words, this is a pretty worthwhile and serious thing if the percentages hold up that high.
Exactly, yeah. So
were these the older homes, or was it across the board?
I don't have those details, but that would be interesting to find out. That's another thing he did talk about. Dan Miller talked about some cities, many cities, have building codes that require radon-proof foundations. So there is a relatively inexpensive, simple way to make sure that a new home will not allow the gas to leak in. And it's something city will probably have to consider at some point. It's probably becoming more common these days. As most listeners know, we don't have building codes in the city of Fairfield currently. There have been attempts in the past to adopt, say, the International Building Code standards. That was attempted 2010 or 2011, I can't remember. Manufacturers do not support it. They feel like it raises cost and doesn't give them any benefit. So, more discussion needs to take place, more education, what it does mean and what it doesn't. A lot of times when these situations arise, too often misinformation gets spread. People believe things about issues that aren't true and take a position based on false information. And sometimes it's hard to change someone's mind, even if you...
Well, and there's a general sort of anti-regulation mode in much of the country. I mean, and I think it's always better generally to not have to have regulations, but if they're there for a purpose worth looking at, I guess that's what you're saying.
Well, I think about like where the United States started and how many laws there were compared to now, right? I mean, it's a big difference. And some people are saying we need to go back to fewer laws, fewer regulations. And when I look at it historically, it's just me philosophizing, by the way. It's basically the bad apples that cross lines morality wise or try to take advantage of people that create more strict laws that the rest of us have to adhere by. And it's just like that with law. There's always some child falls off. Oh, let's talk about the drowning in a pool because of the filter system. So now all filtration vents are covered so that no one can get sucked and held down. That happened one incident and it changes across the board. Now that's a positive thing, right, to make it safer. Those slides that I used to enjoy as a kid are gone from my hometown park. 2 stories, very low sides, fast as lightning. You just don't see those around anymore. Now they're all covered and not as tall. So what happens is, somebody gets hurt and then a law comes to try to protect people, but it also ends up limiting freedom to some extent. And same with the building codes. Let's say that 99% of the builders in the community are doing a fantastic job or doing things safely and properly, but then you have somebody who cuts corners and then the house catches on fire and someone dies. I mean, things like that happen. So that's happened other places. So then, the places that don't have them and haven't had a problem with it then get pulled along anyway. So it's, that's generally how it's, it's not just made up. It's based on something did happen somewhere that caused people to reflect.
On the other side, some people feel that all those regulations mean more taxing or whatever exams that have to be done, specialization.
Someone has to pay for it. Yeah, exactly.
So on and so forth.
Yeah.
It adds red tape and so forth. But, I think there's a thing called balance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever been there, but I hear it's a great place. And by the way, we're speaking with Michael Halley. This is City Business on solar-powered KRUU-FM, 100.1 on the FM dial, and also online at KRUU-FM.com. This City Business segment we bring to you after each City Council session, compliments of our interaction with Michael Halley, and we do appreciate him spending the time to kind of sum up each time. Also, we have FMC in the house, the formerly FPAC, and we're always grateful that they drop by. But this show, if you're listening live Tuesday, 12:30 lunchtime, also airs Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Dinner time, and then the following Monday at 6:30 a.m. We've just added a radio action news segment after our regular news now with MSAE producing it, a local news segment. Kind of exciting about that. A team of 5 over there doing a great job. Just started this week. But
great.
That said, what else we got for City Business?
Oh, we're just going back to FMC.
Okay.
They're more like, instead of formerly FPAC, it's more like FPAC Plus. They're
Okay.
still FPAC. They still
Right.
got Channel 9 on TV. Plus they've got a website. Plus they've got a YouTube channel. So it's like more than before.
Nice.
It's expanding. That's what's so exciting about it. It's a little plug for my friends at FMC.
You bet.
All right.
One
Next.
sitting right over there.
Yeah, Mr. Jason Strong, the director. All right.
Which is so easy to see on radio, by the way.
Yeah. Resolutions, action items, and ordinances. We had 4 tax abatement requests,
Wow.
which is great because several of them were new construction in city limits, which is always nice. And a couple were like heavy remodeling jobs. So again, to remind listeners, the council does not approve the amount. We approve the application, say, okay, this, you've filled out everything. It looks like it's filled out properly. It gets passed along to the county assessor. County assessor dictates the value of the property. Based on that, a percentage is forgiven based on the city code that we put in place for the abatements. And it's just an incentive for people to build in town instead of looking for a lot right outside of town into the unincorporated area. So we approved all 4 of those. Next, we set a public hearing for the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Grant. That's the grant the city's looking for to get funding that would cover 50% of the cost of facade restoration in our downtown historic area. So that's coming up. January 13th will be the public hearing on that. We set another public hearing to rezone 1005 West Broadway from R2 to B1. Pretty straightforward. Someone wants to use a building that is currently residential, also wants to be able to use it for business. We do that. Those kind of rezoning things come up quite often. They go through our planning and zoning board, which is a volunteer group of citizens, and get passed on to council. We had an action item, several action items to accept certain projects as complete. 2013 street improvements, the resurfacing of portion of Maple Street, Harrison Avenue, and 14th Street. So the city the engineering crew, local engineering company, French Reniker, the city works closely with them to ensure the work that was bid out is completed. And once completed, the final little portion of withheld funds then get paid out to the contractor. So that was deemed complete, as well as wastewater improvement on Libertyville Road near Highway 1. That's near the hospital, in preparation for Casey's that is going to be moving from its current location on South Highway 1 to the corner of Highway 1 and Libertyville Road. I think they want to be within viewing distance of the bypass is the idea. So, when you're driving along the highway and you're looking for gas or place to stay, it's always, if you see one, I mean, that's how I am. If I'm driving and I see a sign, gas at next exit, but I can't see the gas station, especially in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, sometimes I don't want to take it because you might have to drive a couple miles to some small town not very close to the highway. So, it's a strategic move for them to move closer to the highway. And then we also had some wastewater improvements at the 200 block of Jefferson, and we accepted that as final as well. So basically winding down construction season for the winter, and then we'll pick it up again in the spring. Let's see, some more resolutions. We accepted moving forward on an STP application. This is referring to federal funds that can cover up to, in some cases, 90% of street repair for certain streets. Each town has certain streets that are designated as major arteries or minor arteries, and if they're included in that federal funds, I mean, we all pay the taxes, come back to our community to fix those streets. So we're looking at the final piece of Kirkwood Avenue, which is one of these streets, from 7th Street to 9th Street. That's been steadily reconstructed over the years, and this would be the final piece of the puzzle of Kirkwood. Let's see, we authorized application for some grant funds. This is kind of cool. Paving shoulders along Highway 1 South. So anyone who's been walking along South Main, Highway 1 in town knows that when you reach Fillmore, there are no sidewalks from Fillmore south of town. So you can't walk to the hospital. You can't really ride your bike very safely out to the trails in that side of town. So the Trails Council is working with the city to apply for some grant funding.
For snowshoes?
For better sidewalks along either side of the street.
Gotcha.
4 foot wide asphalt sidewalks. We looked in the past to one side. They're looking into both. They've got the grant funding. They've also got some kind of promised funding locally, and the city's contribution, I think, was like $15,000 for something that costs much more than that. So it was really a no-brainer to say yes. The only problem is it's a 2018 completion date, so it's not something that would happen right away. But there's an understanding that as development continues on South Highway 1, we have the Pilot Grove Savings Bank going in across from the hospital, potentially some housing development back in there. There's some proposed improvements to make on that street, make it a little wider, a little safer. And if we're doing work out there anyway, sometimes you can piggyback things like sidewalks, nice wide sidewalks, and experience cost savings by doing it all at once. So more on that later, but I was very, very happy to see that because I've had constituents in my ward talk about that, and I've ridden my bike many times on the trail and then wanted to hop off the trail and come back into town. You know, I live on Main Street just like you do, so I want to ride down Main Street back to my house, but it's rather treacherous if you are riding on that stretch between, say, Libertyville Road and Fillmore. Traffic is speeding up and there's not much room on the road. It's rather precarious and something to be avoided. But if we had these great sidewalks, both cyclists and pedestrians could move freely and safely.
But we're looking at a completion target of 2018?
2018 is for this particular grant.
Okay.
But like I said, there might be opportunities to do it sooner. All right. We also accepted a voluntary annexation of Laus Deo subdivision, which is actually...
Which was that?
It's Laus. Laus,
yeah.
Deo. It must be, I'm thinking Latin, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the name someone gave this funny little triangular piece of land that we kind of needed to finish the annexation of that area around Pilot Grove. So it's voluntary. We don't, in the city, force annexation. I don't know if we ever have, but not in any recent history that I'm aware of. So we voluntarily have taken that from county land. It's now city land. We also did the same for a portion of land at Prairie Lake subdivision. Now, talking about these tax abatement applications, a lot of them are coming from Prairie Lakes. So that's a development on Walton Road. And I think there are 8 homes or eight buildings out there currently. I say buildings, they are homes, but maybe I think at least one might be a duplex. So not just a single family. So again, there was a portion of a lot that was kind of oddly shaped and someone wanted to add a little sliver. So we accepted that little piece, again, voluntary annexing. Then we rezoned it. Anything that gets annexed in the city is automatically zoned R1 because they have some duplexes out there. The whole development is R2. So we rezoned it R2. Now, for something like this, that's just this little piece of land in a private subdivision kind of thing, the council didn't feel that this needed 3 separate readings. So occasionally we do what's called suspending the rules per state law, and we go from the first to third reading in one go. So we felt this was non-controversial, basic, something that we could just get done and be done with. The same for the next ordinance was, remember that alley that we were vacating?
Yep.
That we forgot the language in the original ordinance only included 1/2. It's like, okay, we've got it. Let's just pass this all at once. No one objected to it the first time around when we thought we did it all. So now we're finishing that up.
By the way, just a side note here, for those interested in protesting those decisions, there will be a big gather. I'm just kidding.
Before any ordinance is voted on, there's a public hearing, and it's the agenda is always printed
of course,
online in the paper beforehand. So if there's something that pops up and it is of interest, all citizens are welcome to come speak on whatever issue. Let's see. Then we authorized the conveyance of the real estate. Basically, we said, okay, this alley is no longer city property. Here you go. It now belongs to the Methodist Church. All right, the next one is something interesting. Social host ordinance. I don't know how much you've heard about this, but
I haven't heard too much. The social host ordinance.
Yes. So,
and I'm assuming you mean ordinance, not ordinance.
Ordinance, as in a city code.
It's compared to armaments, but yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
Yes. All right. So, The county passed this over a month ago. It's a deterrent to underage drinking. Basically, any person under the age who gets caught drinking, okay, they have certain fines they face or certain.
And what are the ages? Just 18? Or are we talking
21?
But sorry, I come from Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even sure it's still that in.
No,
I think it was 18 when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, in Iowa it's 21.
I was 21, but it's different places. Is that correct?
No, it's the whole state.
But I mean around the country.
Oh, maybe. I think it's all. The U.S. is all 21, isn't it?
It wasn't when I was a kid, but
really?
I wasn't a drinker, so I didn't pay attention. But at any rate,
yeah.
Sorry, back to the matter at hand.
Yes.
We're talking 21.
Yep.
I always have sort of an issue where you can join the service.
I know, at 18, but not drink.
But go ahead.
But that's,
It's
again, it's current law, but
Mhm.
doesn't mean it has to be that way. So basically, this includes, let's just say, repercussions for an adult knowingly providing a space for a minor to drink. So that's how this pulls in.
Okay.
Not just, my kid's drinking, but I know my kid's drinking downstairs with his or her buddies, and I don't care. Well, this law says, you are now responsible for that. Now, if they don't have any idea about it, and this is where there's the gray area. How'd you know if they knew or didn't know? But the point of this law isn't to fine people. The fine can be up to $750. But since the county put it in place, they haven't fined anyone. But two, I guess you could call them party houses, have since shut down. They don't have that issue anymore once this passed. So it is a deterrent to people knowingly and willingly offering a space for minors to drink alcohol. This is, part of a bigger plan to try to cut down on that. Apparently Jefferson County is ranked really pretty pathetically in terms of,
Yep.
We have a big problem with binge drinking. I think that's a person drinking up to 5 or 6 beers at once or something. For some reason, our county ranks pretty poorly compared to other counties in Iowa. So as the police chief said last night, this is like the final piece of the puzzle in terms of it's something that we had missed before, but we really didn't need to pass this. It's already law in the county and cities in the county. It was more a show of solidarity and to say, we as a city, as a city within the county also support this. So again, I'm not expecting anyone to be fined. I hope not.
But also this is a bit more symbolic than is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Since it's already a law.
It's already law.
To say we're going to abide by the law.
Yeah, we're going to put it in city code, not just in the county. I mean, I suppose if the supervisors, you had a change of supervisors and they changed their law, then ours would still be there. So there's some reason to have it, but currently it's just, like you said, somewhat symbolic.
By the way, we are speaking with Michael Halley. This is City Business. I'm James Moore, and you're listening to solar-powered KRUU-FM, 100.1 on your FM dial, online at KRUU-FM.com. Also, the Fairfield Media Center. We appreciate their presentation of this, and not only that, for great taste as well. Great partnerships abide. We're getting into the season of, gosh, you just said about resolutions. We're almost to that time of year, aren't we?
Yep.
But this is the final city business for 2013. And let's, anything else on the docket?
Wrap it up. Well, we have our swearing-in meeting January 2nd. So the mayor will be sworn in again. I will be sworn in again. John Revolinsky will be sworn in again. And Douglas Flournoy will be sworn in for the first
new
time.
Council person.
Yeah, so those are the 4 of us who were elected in last cycle. And then we'll have a work session in January as well. That's a Saturday morning, and it's informal, and the council doesn't take any action. We just discuss things, make plans for the year, and that kind of thing, kind of strategizing.
Fantastic. Well, if that's it, we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank you, as always, for dropping by, Mr. Halley, and this is City Business. We'll see you all next year. Keep it tuned right here to Solar-Powered KRUU-FM. Actually, you've got a ways to go, but it's a beautiful sunny day as we speak today, and we'll look forward to more exciting action items, resolutions, street repairs, and much more next year right here on City Business. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.